Well,
All right, so the next one's from Roberto Macias. This kid was on the roundtable, right?
Yeah, he's been on a couple of times now.
All right, so the subject is Disco's tweet. What's good, K100 crew? This weekend, Disco sent a tweet out that got me thinking. The tweet was, quote, I want wrestling to be great again. I really do. But we have to take the blinders off. Stop the bullshit narratives we're being fed by the fake experts. Let's start with the quote, there's never been a better time to be a wrestling fan lie. That is 4 million Pinocchios, end quote. That's what I tweeted. I don't think anyone can deny that there are better in-ring wrestlers now than the previous generations. Oh my God, already. Jeez. All right, Roberto Macias, right off the bat. All right, I'm gonna interrupt this email here and discuss that sentence. I don't think anyone can deny that there are better in-ring wrestlers now than the previous generations. Is an absolute that is a false narrative. That's an abject lie. And I'll tell you guys this: you watch all these guys that are great, that everybody thinks that are great, like the Bucks, K-Pac, all these guys in matches. Bro, go back and watch. Go on the network. And this was during a period of time when nobody was really watching. WCW was getting killed by the WWE in ratings. Go watch anything with the Filthy Animals, Conan and Alex, the Natural Born Thrillers, and Lance Storm. Okay, there were a lot of three-ways, tag matches, and some. Bro, watch those matches, okay? And watch the way we work. It's the same way the guys work today because it was very fast-paced because it was like kind of like cruiserweight style. But, bro, I'm telling you what, I'm watching stuff. It's like, if you watch that work, we're rougher. We're definitely the speed of the match is the same as it is today, okay? But we're rougher and we don't look as choreographed. We definitely do not look as choreographed. We all like everybody's like laying in forms, laying in shot, and selling, and the pace is something. But bro, I'm sorry, but like this thing today, where everybody all of a sudden, because Dave Meltzer was rating the matches higher, thinking that these guys were better wrestlers than we are, it's completely untrue. Okay, and you could show because even back then when our ratings were shit, the fans were popping. Like we get crowd responses. We get things. Bro, I watched the other day. I pulled it up on Daily. It's on Daily Motion, but I watched the Adam Page, Kenny Omega versus Young Bucks match. Right? Meltzer gave that match 6 stars.
Said it was the greatest tag team match.
Match in history. Bruce Mitchell gave it. It says it's the greatest tag team match in history. Conan, I'm going to send you this link. Joe, we might have to put this on here. Okay? Watch the crowd. I swear to God, this is supposed to be the greatest match of all time. Just randomly fast forward like every 30 seconds through that whole 40-minute clip. Dude, the fans are in their seats.
The match was 40 minutes?
98% of the match, yes. And so the thing is 40 minutes long. They are sitting in their seats, just sitting there, okay, for 98%.
That's too long a match, bro.
Okay.
I don't think I could sit through that.
But that's all they had to do was sit. They sit, they clap along like this. Bro, when we worked, we got people up out of their seats.
Okay, let me give a little bit of a perspective to that. So I think a lot of the best wrestlers of today, the best workers, whoever they may be, are phenomenal workers, just like the workers from our time.
I'll disagree with that.
Wait 1 second.
So who are they?
Okay, wait 1 second.
Right. Okay.
And if you look at in sports and you look at before.
Okay, no, let me finish.
Wait 1 second. Let me just say one thing.
Let me read a couple. Wait, time out. Let me read a couple more sentences because he's bringing up what you're bringing up. Okay. And okay. I don't think, much like the athletes in pro sports are better today than the generations before them. What the current product lacks is star power. I've seen better matches the last 5 years than the previous 15. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so like before, everybody's more athletic today, quicker, faster, stronger, all that. That's just part of evolution. In 10 years, it'll be the same fucking thing. But before, you had everybody working like as a team, okay? And the fundamentals and just the way the game was played was way better. Now you have guys on teams that they want to stick out. They want to get the big contract. They're only thinking about themselves. The running back is, his whole thing has changed. But when you look at wrestling, the work in general, way better in our era. Way better.
Way better. Because
everybody, most guys that were in the business were properly trained and had to go through, and we would weed them out if they weren't. Today, any motherfucker that the promoter likes, wants to get over, is friends with, the people, it doesn't matter if they're trained or not. They're out there wrestling, and they were better trained when we were better in-ring workers, 1,000%.
Let me finish the email. But I haven't seen anyone that could be a genuine star like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Cena, Jericho, Ric Flair, or Hogan. I blame the lack of good, consistent storytelling and wrestlers not taking their character seriously. The Edge Orton feud was some of the best built-to match I've seen in a while. Promos were great and really built my anticipation for the match. Most wrestlers now seem to only care about the in-ring part of the game and getting "this is awesome" chants, which is true. What would you guys tell a local indie guy that is trying to make it in the wrestling business today? What do you think he needs to happen for wrestling to have another boom period? I talked about this on the Russo show the other day with Will and with Vince's kid and Jeff Lane, and I'll say this: I watched maybe we talked about when we did one of these watch-alongs. Watch 8 hours, okay, or 9 hours, however long. Okay, so Raw's 3, AEW's 2, NXT's 2, and Fox's 2. Okay, 9 hours of wrestling. Okay, watch those shows in their entirety and count the amount of times you see a shitty missed clothesline, okay, a shitty forearm strike, somebody no-sell, and how many times people slap their legs, okay? Now, and if I showed you one random match, you may not notice that, okay? But through 8 hours of TV, 9 hours of TV, bro, it's all over the place. And it's like, and it looks like, and that's what the work looks like. Complete lack of attention to details, and they're literally exposing bad-looking wrestling throughout the broadcast. Because everybody, 90% of the guys throw shitty clotheslines, 90% of the guys throw shitty forearms, 90% of the guys no-sell spots, and 90% of the guys do these, do the leg slaps. Even the top guys. I saw Morrison the other day, and like, bro, people are slapping their legs, and they're not doing it like Scott Hall did it, where he throws a punch, and he just has his hand down my side, and he can do it very light. Bro, they're picking their hands up and slapping down on their legs. And you watch this, and I'm going like, this looks bad. And I watched all that wrestling, and that stuck out to me. Young wrestlers today, learn how to throw a punch, because you'll look like a tough guy in the middle of a bunch of wrestlers that look like they don't know what they're doing and don't know how to fight. That's what I would say. And wrestling's going to not have another boom period. Bro, everybody should take this time out where there's no shows and take Ric Flair's advice from the ESPN 30 for 30, because Flair throws a good punch, okay? And he said he would throw the punch, he'd punch the rope, and he said he got to the point where he could touch the rope and the rope wouldn't move, then he knew he could throw a perfect punch. Everybody needs to learn how to throw punches, because, bro, we have a generation of wrestlers that do not look like they can fight, and the whole purpose of wrestling is to sell a fight. Plus two. There's another thing, too. I was looking back at history of professional wrestling. When wrestling started, nobody really talks about this, too. When wrestling started in the carnies, because, bro, you heard that Eric Weinstein on Joe Rogan, right?
Yep.
And then you read that article I sent you when he was talking about kayfabe and stuff.
I'd already read it, but go ahead.
Right. So here's the thing. Nobody really taught the guys how to work when they started doing the carnies. All they would do is the finish was predetermined. So the two guys would go out there and they would do whatever, make everything as real as possible, like try to make, and then maybe they'd stiff each other and stuff, and stuff, but they knew what the finish was going to be. And that's how the promoter sold tickets and told stories. So now, as like wrestling started to grow, guys need to learn how to work. But the whole premise was the only thing to the fans that was supposed to was supposed to be is like, it was supposed to look as real as possible, but the finish is predetermined, but the fans were not supposed to know the finish is predetermined. Now look at the evolution of wrestling. It's gotten completely away from trying to make it look as real as possible. And it's just the finish is predetermined. Now it's a performance. So guys are doing a bunch of things that you would not see in a real fight. And like, that's where wrestling has like evolved. And I call it, to the thing is like making it look as real as possible. Guys do not know how to make it look as real as possible these days. And if you look, I'm sorry, but like you talk about, everybody says the ring wrestlers are better now, and this, but no, the work back when we worked, we looked more realistic. We could throw hands with smoke, like the guys would throw punches, and it's just that looks more realistic, And it's like we've gotten away from that. What do you think?
Well, it's like anything else, bro. If you look at movies around the turn of the century, it's like anything else. Everything, just starts to evolve, and sometimes it evolves in a way that we feel is digressing to what we're used to, but that's what they're used to seeing right now. Because the one thing I saw is I think wrestling started to get real around the 1930s, around their 20s, 30s, because I know some old timers in Mexico that they were telling me that there were a lot of shooters in Mexico, or like when Americans came in, because first in Mexico, they had American wrestlers. They didn't have any Mexican wrestlers. They were like, we're not going to shoot in the ring. We're going to shoot back here, and whoever wins back here is the one that's going to win in the ring. So you're not shooting out there and boring the people to death, because they were going sometime. I don't know how they would do this. Probably there was a lot of stalling, but there were matches that were an hour plus long. You know, guys were coming out with their knees fucked up, and you know, because they were really shooting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they were probably figuring out, how do we make this less boring? You know, and that's when they started to have finishes, and then people started to say, oh, well, you know what? Let's make this more exciting and put high spots in there. You know, right? Let's do that. And just like everything else, we've come to a point where people said, let's speed it up. Let's fucking, you know, it doesn't really matter if we're selling. It doesn't matter if we're doing this. Let's just keep that shit going. Let's just, you know, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a whole different style with a whole different generation.
Yeah, it's like, and bro, the champion back then was the toughest shooter. Frank Gotch, Lou Thez, you know, like guys that like, you know, the finish is predetermined, but the guy need to be able to take care of himself in the ring in case the guy tried to beat, you know, to screw him over. So it's like, you know,
but as you know, But as you know, back then, all those guys that you always hear about, Toots Mond and, you know, Ed Strangler Lewis and Vince McMahon and, you know, and Sam Munchnick, they were like, you know, if something goes down, we want to make sure that our guy can take care of anybody.
Right.
Where today, since everybody knows what it is, they don't give a shit if the champion's tough or not.
Right.
You know, but to me, it does add so much legitimacy when you put Brock Lesnar as your champion,
right?
Because any non-fan can say, well, that motherfucker's for real. You know what I'm saying?
Right. He brings the real, you know, which we need today, you know? So I was like, which is the premise that the business was founded on, you know?